Good afternoon. So in this video, I will explain the part of finding and discussion from linguistic research by Muhammad Suhri DJ and Hasriyati Noor in their research with title Code Switching Used by the Lecturer in the Classroom Interaction of English Study Program at IAIN Bonn. So, in their research, in their classroom observation and video recordings, they already discovered that lecture in the school use three types of code switching. The first one is text switching, and then the second one is intrasentential switching, and the third one is intersentential switching. Now, let me explain this briefly using the data from the research. The types of code switching, as I have mentioned before, there is three. The first one is text switching. Text switching here, used by the lecturer to start the lesson, to check students' comprehension or understanding, and also to give them a task. In here, from the data, the research put the data of the text switching is like, okay, materi hari ini adalah the material for today is singular and plural. Here, the text switching may sound simple, but actually, it's like the bridge of linguistic that help the lecturer and the students to have a natural conversation and also the friendly conversation to make students feel more engaged. And the second one, we can see intrasentential. Intrasentential is the switching that happens inside the sentence, which means in one sentence there's two language in it. For example, from the data it said, okay, any question for this? Tidak ada. Kalau tidak ada, I would like to test you one by one. Here, the lecturer use this or switch and using these types of code switching to help students understand the instruction clearly and also to give them assignment. And then the third one, intersentential switching. Intersentential switching is the switching that happens after one language and then the lecture switch into another language. For example, from the data, one of you finds the situation, one of you finds the expression. Jadi pasanganmu yang satu cari situasinya, pasanganmu yang lain cari ungkapannya. So here the lecturer switch the language to explain again to the students about the instruction and to help them understand clearly about the material so they can mereka bisa menyesuaikan antara the English term that new for them with the Indonesian equivalent translation. The researcher also state, based on the data that they have already found, that code switching is not something random, especially in the classroom presentation. Code switching is code switching have a clear pedagogical purpose. Now we're going to talk about the function of code switching in this research. The researcher found that there is three types or three function of code switching used by lecture, and it is exactly the same with what Gampers have already proposed in his study. The first one is to serve as a filler or interjection. Take like okay, jadi, nah. It sounds simple, but it helps to keep the conversation between students and lecturer more flowing and maintain the tone of a natural tone. And then the second one is to clarify and emphasize a message or a meaning of a message, especially when students seemed or look like they confused with the message. And the third one is to qualify a message. Here, the lecturer they switch the language to qualify the message, which means they use switching to giving an extra explanation for the students without using or try to repeat the exactly same phrases with what they have already used. So based on the types and also the function, the researcher they state that code switching here is a tool for teaching. It's not a linguistic weakness. So the code switching helps the process of learning and the comprehension easier. Now, after we understand what types of code switching that found in this research and also the function, the researcher trying to tell us that their findings or their result support public and Gamper's explanation earlier in their study about code switching is not just a barrier, it's a strategic tool and not a weakness. So it's not random, but it has the purpose in it. And if we compare this research with previous research that already done with other researchers, such as studies by Rezvani and Rasek, and also by King, these researchers show us that the two previous study they have the same pattern. They conclude that code switching, if used skillfully and wisely, it'll help students and the lecture also to support the learning process, to clarify the meaning and building an effective and also efficient learning. But here's what new that adds by this research. This research they are focused on the basic public speaking, which is help students in one of university in Indonesia, which is focused on the University of Iain Bone, where the students they are still develop their public speaking, which mean code switching here is more have other function, which is help the students to reduce their anxiety in speaking. And that is what's new from this research. So, in simple terms, or in simple analogy, this study they tell us, and they prove to us that code switching is not a barrier. Code switching is a bridge that connects students with what they have already understand in Indonesian with what they are trying to master in English. And also code switching helped the lecturer to teach smoothly between clarity connection with students. So rather to avoid the code switching, the lecturer they can use the code switching wisely and skillfully to help the students in making and effective learning. To close this presentation video, I'd like to say to all of us that where words switch wisely, their understanding grows widely. That's all from this part of video and thank you.